Hi, Pete Hendricks, Hendricks Classics. In this video, I'm going to show you how to disassemble and reassemble the Homelike Taiga adjustable razor. So, the first thing is, before you take it apart, I want you to see a couple of things. You can see that I have the pointer aligned at 1, and so if I had a blade in here and started turning this to the right, it would start increasing the aggression. And when I start turning it back to the left, it kind of locks up. And when you get it to 1, it doesn't want to go any further. So when you put it back together, if that thing's not lined up at 1, something's not right. And if something is not right, most likely it's that the 3 dots on this end have to be lined up. And I mean to tell you, it's really easy to get those misaligned. So, and we're going to disassemble it. The first thing we will take it apart as though we were going to put in a razor blade. So the bottom comes off, the cap comes off. Then we're going to remove the barrel on the handle, and this thing is reversed. The threading is reversed than what we are used to, at least in the United States. So we're going to remove that barrel by going we're going to remove the barrel by going clockwise. And then we're going to remove the dial. Now in here we have a spring. I recommend not taking it apart near a sink. If you're careful, the spring won't go flying, but it still could. And there are replacement springs you can get. It's a standard size spring. And while we are on the subject, okay, so that comes off, and then here this is, and there's that spring. And I had the size of this spring pulled up. It is a 10 by 10 with a thickness of 1 millimeter. And I understand, a friend of mine wrote the owner, and he said you can use some different springs in there. But, in reality, the main thing to know, if you use a different spring, I would probably order them from a Western-made company. When I say Western, I mean like Europe or the US or Canada or Japan or Korea. Because you want to have stainless steel. 316 would be perfect, or 304. But what you don't want to do is get one where either it's advertised as being better, but it's not, or it's just advertised as being stainless steel, because you don't want to have this thing rust while it's down in there. Okay, so now we've got this whole thing taken apart. We're going to put it back together. So let's see, we're going to put that spring in there. We are going to look for where that little black point is, and we're going to make sure that when we put this first level back in, we're going to make sure the points line up. And also, if I were putting this together and not going to take it back apart, I would be wiping it down with this microfiber cloth as I was going, so as not to leave any fingerprints. So we have that. We're going to put the cap back on, and you want the arrow, of course, pointing up. And this is going to be, it goes on counterclockwise. And you can see when I put it back together, it is lined up on 1. Even if you can't see it, take my word for it. The arrow on the screw here is lined up with the number 1. And so from there, we are going to, and when you put it back together all the way, you want to make sure that all the slots are lined up. And so we're going to put the barrel back on, And you know that the end that has threading inside, if you can see inside there, there's threading. The threading goes up here. It's reversed, so we're going to go, I think we're going to be going, ugh. Okay, it goes counterclockwise here. I'd like to think I could think in terms of reverse threading, but apparently not. We're going to put the cap back on, and we want to make sure that we have checked for the black dots. And the black dots are up, so I want to put this up. And then we just do the bottom. And make sure that it's lined up at 1. Make sure that it's lined up at 1. And we make sure that the dots are here. And let me show you something else. If you put it together and it's not lined up, which as I mentioned is very easy to do, the cap will not want to come off. And so here, if it gets stuck, you don't want to force it. There's never a need to force anything with this razor. So we're going to remove that screw, and notice I've kind of got it pointed into the palm of my hand so that if that spring were to go flying, it would fly into my palm. And I said that at the wrong time because the spring is not actually down here, it's up here. But we're going to be careful. And what I'm going to do, if this were jammed, I'm going to take this and place it on here, and this bigger tube is hollow, and the cap goes down through it. And if the cap is stuck on here, I just set it on here and press down, and it will remove it. And so the purpose in doing that is to not force anything. You know, on these, yeah, no reason whatever to cause a problem. So let me throw this back together. And basically, we have done it. As a reminder, I would be making sure we have the dots lined up. There. All good. We're going to put the cap back on, making sure that the arrow is pointed up counterclockwise. We check that it's lined up on 1. And what I discovered a little earlier today is I got them backwards, and it lined up on 4. Remember, so we're going to look for the threading. The threading goes counterclockwise in there. And then, and ladies and gents, you have taken it apart and put it back together. In summary, let me remind you of a couple of things. I like to, you know, down in there in the parts, I don't like to leave fingerprints in there because of the salt from our bodies. So I'll wipe it down with a microfiber cloth like this. Don't force anything. And you can get replacement springs. Again, they are 10 by 10 with a thickness of 1 millimeter. Make sure you get either 304 or 316 steel from a reliable manufacturer that you know you feel confident is going to sell you what they are telling you they're selling you. And that's it. Thanks so much.